All right, we got this 2010 Toyota Corolla here. We're gonna be doing some emergency brake cables on them. So first thing you gotta do is remove a bunch of interior components. So very simple. The only tool that you're going to need, I believe, is 10 mil on an extension and possibly a Phillips screwdriver. But we'll start by removing the shift knob. Very simple. It's just threaded on. So we take that off. Then we remove anything that's going to be in our way, like this stuff. That can go out of the way. Then we got a couple trim panels right here. They just pop off. One on each side. They're just held in there by pressure clips. And then once you get those off, you can remove this piece here. So this is where the Phillips screws are in here. And then there's underneath of the there's a little carpet in there. Once you get that off, you can remove two 10 millimeter bolts. All right, so I'm just gonna get a screwdriver. We're gonna take this off. There's a actually this just comes right off, sorry. Some more pressure clips, and then yeah, I'll be right back with a screwdriver. All right, we got to pull our emergency brake handle all the way up. We're going to remove, I could be wrong, but we're going to try this piece too. And I think we also need to remove, actually, you know what? No, that comes off. That's right. It's been a minute since I've done this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Oh no. My apologies. I think I was right. That whole thing's got to come off. So yeah, these two. And I think we got to take this one off, if I'm not mistaken. So probably these ones. Couple center things. Now keep in mind when we go to, actually no, we won't. Never mind. Just taking some screws out. I thought maybe we had to move the gear shifter down, but I don't think we do. Okay, I'm just gonna leave these in the cup holder. See if this thing comes out now. Oh, we do need to move the gear shifter. See? I was right. Okay, key on. Vehicle not started, foot on brake. Right into low. We're gonna remove that. We've got one connector here. Let's see if I can get that. There you go, a little push tab that you push down on. That releases. We can get our 12 volt outlet and miscellaneous things panel out of the road. Two more screws hidden down in here. Remove those. Just careful you don't drop them down there. Looks like they're already loose. And now we should be able to get these bolts out. Should be able to lift this whole thing right out. Yes. Okay. Now, you can take it right out if you want. There is a another connector in here. You can see there's a piece that goes across here, and we've got wiring. So there's going to be another connector down in there somewhere that goes to the gear shifter, and one that goes up here. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna unplug those. Be right back in a second. Okay, so the white connector is literally like right there in front of you. Undo that one if I can get it with one hand. Yep, just like that. Then we can remove this whole thing. Now it's up to you whether you want to take this out of the car or not. Oops, I'm going to. Just makes life easier. And that's going to give us access to where the cables come through down to here. I'll get this out of the way and I'll show you where the cables come through on the floor. I have a 12 mil socket for these ones down here. I got the Olsa Tool bottle opener socket. If you want one, you can pick up some hand wipes or a click type torque wrench, I believe, on their website, olsatools.com. And receive one as a free gift. So make sure you head over there and buy some stuff. They got professional quality tools for a cheap, non professional price. I don't know if that makes sense, but look at that. It also doubles as a 12 ml. So open bottles. I can't even see behind me. All right, there's 2 more in the back. And get those out. That's going to remove the top plate. And then we got this bottom plate to deal with. More 12 millimeters. Looks like we got 1 here, and there's probably some hidden underneath the carpet back here. If I can get my hands under there. Yeah, looks like there's another one back there. Break down by hand. Oh, she might go. Yep, and oh, looks like we got another one maybe on this side. Yes, we do. 3. 3rd time's the charm, that's what they say. Oh, 4. There is one back here somewhere. Maybe. Maybe not. So 2 more in the back. That's a total of 5. There's all the locations. Now you can see where our cables come through. We can now access the equalizer. And from the bottom, we've got bolts that come through that actually hold the cables in place. But like I say, we need to get the cables out of this, right? So very simple. On the bottom, you can see that there's an opening right here. So the cable just slips through like so. And we do the same thing on the other side. But what I'm gonna do is probably just cut it from underneath to give myself a bunch of slack to be able to get that off. There's also like a plastic sleeve that's inside of here. I think that is supposed to might be able to like hold the cable in place kind of sort of thing. I'm not 100% sure. We'll figure that out when we get there. All right, so get your rear wheels off. We need to get into these drums. We'll remove the drums themselves. Now they may not come off as easy as that. And if that's the case, there's a rubber plug in the back of this plate that allows you to gain access to this little star wheel. That's the adjuster. You're gonna go in with a screwdriver and you can rotate it. And I'll show you in a little bit when we go set things up, but that's what you need to do to back the shoes off to get the drums off. And I have other videos on that, but I'm not gonna get into it right now. So once we get the drums off, this is our emergency brake cable here. It's mounted in 4 or 5 different locations with usually 10 millimeter bolts. There's one of them right there. And there's a good chance that that's going to be completely rusted in there and snap off, but I'm going to do my best to save it. Now the cable runs in through this backing plate, and there's a 10 mil bolt that goes to secure the cable to the backing plate, and then the cable will run into an arm that sits in behind this shoe. There's the pivot point for it right there. And the cable will attach to that arm so that when you pull the cable, it levers the shoes outwards to apply the brake. Now, I'm gonna look at this for a minute and see if there's any way I can do it without removing the shoes completely. But I believe I may have to take the shoes off. So I'm gonna think about it, scratch my head, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have this little tool here. You don't have to use this tool, but it's an attachment for a 1/4 inch driver, 2 different sizes, and it's for these springs that hold the shoes to the backing plate. You just push in and turn, and you can see that there's like a pin. It's got a key on it. yada, yada, yada. So, or you could use some like needle nose pliers too. Same thing, push in and turn. I'm gonna try to get this spring out. And I kind of want to get this shoe out of the road a little bit because the bolt that holds the cable to the backing plate goes in this way and it sits right in behind here. So I need to get this shoe out of the road enough. I really don't want to have to take all these brakes off because I just put them on and they're a pain in the ass. That's just the way it goes. There's a tool for this, by the way, to like do springs and stuff like that. It looks like a flathead screwdriver with like a hook on it. And you can like grab on the springs and like pull them and stuff. I had one, but then I lost it. So, you know, it's just how the game goes. Okay, so now I can like kind of move this around a little bit. You can see now I can like get to that. So that's cool. I can now do that. Now the cable, if you can take a look, sneak underneath of there and take a look at where the cable comes through is right there. So just above the bolt. And that needs to run right across the top of this plate, so up in here, and then it's gonna go to right here, this arm. There's like I'm poking it with the end of my pliers, but that's where the cable needs to hook into. So I'm gonna take this bolt out and get this off. Don't worry about snapping the bolt because the threads are in the cable and you're changing the cable anyways, so just break it if it's gonna break. Of course, it comes out. That's how it works in this trade. It's like, oh, you don't care about the bolt? It's gonna come out. Oh, you care about the bolt? It's definitely breaking. Okay, so now this should come off, maybe. Oh, it's gonna be so corroded in there. How not to use your tools. Yeah, I gotta get the hammer. Yeah, so that gets like real nasty in there. And it's gonna be probably a bitch to get out, but whatever. I'm gonna lift the car up and show you. Let's just get this cable off so I can show you where all the mounting bolts are. We'll get the cables off and then we'll deal with the hard bit afterwards at the end. All right, so we don't wanna get these cables off. There's a couple plastic retaining clips here. Now they'll be locked in place like this. And all you're gonna do is take a flathead screwdriver and, whoops, you can just sneak up in like that. Whoops, and not do that. But that's okay, it didn't break it. It just pops on. Now we've got these two 10 mil bolts. That's where the cable goes in that we see in the beginning of the video. So take those off. Now, I forgot to mention, there's gonna be a heat shield that's gonna be blocking you. So this is a pain to deal with if you're trying to keep this thing. It sits in there like so, from about here all the way up to the center, and there should be another one that goes up front. Yours may be gone, they may not be gone. But you're gonna have 1, 2, 3 bolt holes that, or bolts that hold these on. No, it would be nuts actually. But yeah, a lot of times they get corroded and rot off and whatever. But if you're trying to save them, you might be able to take the nuts off with a 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I used to do that when I worked at Toyota. And I was actually successfully able to remove those without taking the exhaust down. But that's the other thing. If you don't have like a ratcheting wrench or have the patience, you got to take the exhaust down. Even if you do have the exhaust up and you're trying to save that, that thing's gonna get bent. So be prepared if you really want to save yours. Like you might want to take your exhaust apart, and that's just a whole other can of worms. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have one on there. I've seen cars drive around for like years and years and years and years without heat shields on them, and that is what it is. You can get a little more heat in the cabin. Anyhow, so now I've got more bolts to go. So coming past these clips, we've got 10 mils here, here, one on this side over here, and then where I showed you where the one bolt comes down into the frame, this big arm that goes across, there's one on each side, and then the two 10 mils that are in the backing plates where the finally mount into the backing plate. So these things, as you can see, get extremely rusty, and I'm going to put some heat on them to extract them so that they come out and don't break. But the thing about this one is you have to kind of watch because, for one, plastic gas tank. For two, on the other side of this, your carpet is there. So pay attention to what you're doing. If you're gonna use heat, don't use a lot of heat. Really watch what you're doing, because you could set your interior on fire or melt your gas tank, or a lot of dangerous things. So So this kind of sucks that this car is like pretty rotten because the mounts that are like welded onto the body are very, very rough. So even though I just got this bolt out, that mount right there is like flopping around, but whatever, it'll work. Not that I couldn't like make one up and weld it back on and make it all perfect, but it's just a pain. Two for two. Let's go three. Let's go for this one up here. I'm gonna go no heat. Okay, so you'll notice that the one on the driver's side has a piece of red tape on it, as you can see in here. Now, once you get all your bolts out, you'll notice that this bracket, which bolts onto this subframe arm axle assembly, there's an ABS wire, if your car has ABS, that needs to come out, and it just clips into this oval shaped hole. So just knock all the rust off if you have a bunch of rust on there. And there's two things you can do. You can either undo the clip that secures the cable to the clip right there with a flathead screwdriver, or you can flip that bracket upside down and use a pair of needle nose pliers or regular pliers and squeeze the bottom of that clip and allow it to disengage through the hole. Once you do that, you can pull this back out. Now we've got our new cable. I guess if you're at this point and this cable, this portion's still attached, you can just cut it using, I like to use a cutoff disc or like some bolt cutters. Cables are a pain to cut with side cutters. Like it's almost impossible if you have like little side cutters. So it's really tough. The zip disc makes quick work of cutting that, but this needs to get through this hole back in here. And once it's through, it needs to go around on top of there like that. And we need to hook it in behind here. So I might actually be able to just do that like this. If I can fish it down in there. I might, I'm gonna grab a light so you can see. Might be able to get a good shot of that. Forgot. Okay. Like that should just pop down in there. Like that. Now. Okay, are we seated? Maybe? Yes. Okay, so you can see there, that's where it's supposed to be. I'll hold it there so you can take a look. That's how the cable should be. So that was nice. We didn't have to remove any of that stuff. The only thing I had to take off was the spring on the bottom and this spring here that looks like this to get that 10 mil bolt out. So now that that's in, I'm going to put the housing back up against the backing plate here, and we'll get our nut started. And if you broke your nut, removing it, I think the size that you're gonna need is like an M8 by 1.0 thread pitch, I believe it is. And it looks like it's about this long. Pretty much the same size mounting bolts as they use for all the other ones on the car. Maybe these ones are a little bit longer, but let's see if I can get this started. I gotta pull this out a little bit, and then I gotta get this sort of lined up like that. Oops. There, something like that. Oops. So yeah, you should be able to just hopefully get that started by hand. And then if we can get this out enough, should be able to get a ratchet on there and get it snug. You might be able to sneak a wrench in there or something too. So yeah, it doesn't have to be super tight. I don't know what the torque spec is on it, but I'm sure it's not a whole lot. So we'll just get that snug down. You can put Loctite on it if you wanted to for security. But once we get that mounted, now we can just run our cable back through the way it was, put all our mounting bolts in, get this lined up. And once you get both sides done and we have these cables through to the equalizer, then we'll slip those through the equalizer and get it set up inside the car. All right, so yeah, basically, once you get everything, you're gonna do this backwards now from the way that we started. But like I say, the adjuster star for setting it up, I got a bunch of other videos of replacing brakes, so go check some of those out, and maybe I'll make a dedicated video on how to set up brakes. But it's fairly simple. There's lots of videos out there. Hopefully you had a pretty easy time doing this job. And if you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. I'd be glad to answer any of your questions. And yeah, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe. We got lots more videos, and we'll catch you in the next one. Okay, so one more thing that I need to show you is when you get both of your cables through the floor and you want to hook it up to the equalizer, you're going to have a tough time getting the cables to actually drop in to the holes on the back side. So what I need you to do is loosen off, there's two 10mm nuts right there, and you're going to loosen off the top one. They're jammed together, so they're tightened together to act as a locking nut. And you're going to loosen the top one off, take the bottom one off, and it's like a threaded rod that's attached to the cable that runs up the side here. So you're going to take those nuts off, push this down, but not all the way out. And that's going to buy you enough room to get this equalizer back far enough to hook your cables in. And then once they snap into place and they're sitting in there, then you can go ahead and try to push this up enough. You may already have some threads that are exposed. And you're going to start the nut that does not have the washer on it. Tighten that down. That's going to pull everything forwards. And then you can loosen it off and then install the nut with the washer, followed by the nut without the washer, and use two 10mm wrenches and tighten those together so that they're locked together. Just check the throw of your emergency brake. Make sure that it's not like super tight and also that it's not super loose. Should be somewhere just in the middle. And you can just quickly test it by starting the car and then, you know, put it in drive or reverse if the car moves freely. And then when you pull up your emergency brake, obviously things should be locked up. That lets you know that you're going to have the right amount of tension. And yeah, just that's how many threads I basically have exposed. Not very much, but there is some. So just thought I would mention that.